It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. How y'all doing? It's Timeline Tuesdays. We're going to get into the timelines a little bit. I'm supposed to have a special guest a little bit later in the show. A little bit later, but we will get into it. All right? All right, all right, all right. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? All of those good things. Anything good? We won't talk about it. Anything that's not so good, well, we might need to talk about it. And I want to make sure that you talk about whatever's going on in the timelines, whatever's going on in the headlines. I'll have a guest a little bit later. It's Timeline Tuesdays. All right. Talk it out with MsTonya. We're talking about everything. That's what we do here. All right. A little bit later, I'll be joined by Anthony Hall, and we will be digging a little bit into some Civics 101. We'll be breaking it down plain and having a real lunchtime conversation. It's noontime, guys, on the Eastern Coast. All right. Wherever you are, if you're on the West Coast, it's 9 in the morning. If you're in Central Time, I think it is, what are we, an hour different? So I think it's 11. But whatever time it is for you right now, and you're watching, if you're here with me right now on the East Coast, it's lunchtime. All right, so have a little lunch and we're going to have a little conversation. I love it here. I love doing this with you guys. I really wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I got to be honest with you, got to tell you that. But I want to start out with something that I found interesting on the timeline. You guys can get in here, and when you get in here and let me know what you got going on, then we'll talk about what you want to talk about. But let me find what I saw. Look, scrolling in these internet streets just a little bit. Just something that I saw. So I'm going to go to it and we're going to talk about it. Yes, we will. All right, all right, all right. Here we go.
When I say stood on business, I mean stood on business. So apparently, looks like Jimmy Kimmel is back on air. I want to remind corporations, I want to remind business owners, whether you a small business owner, mid-tier business owner, or you are a multi-million billion-dollar business owner, the power is within the consumer. The power is within the people. We can choose who, where, how we want to spend our dollars, our hard-earned dollars, with you or not. We have the choice and the power within the almighty dollar to show you that we can stand on business as well. And baby, these people showed up and showed out, including myself, in canceling Disney, Hulu, not supporting ABC, canceling their Disney cruises, their Disney vacations, like by the millions that has cost Disney billions of dollars within a matter of what, 48, 72 hours? It hadn't even been a week yet. This is why I tell people we have the power. We have the power, and they forget. Elected officials forget. Corporations forget that the people of these United States live in a democracy and we have the right to choose. So with that being said, y'all didn't learn from Target. I hope y'all learned from Disney.
All right, all right. Listen, that's what's going on. That's what's in the headlines. I know a lot of people were talking about it. I saw a lot of people in my timeline who were like, listen, how do I cancel Hulu? How do I cancel Disney? Everybody was in there. And, I had people say, I canceled out of here. That's what it was. So how did you guys feel about it? I want to know how you felt about it. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you're in here. This is independent media, and we have to share this. We have to share it. We've got a bill. I'm going to see my guest is coming on in here. Let me bring him up to the stage. How you doing, Anthony?
What's going on, my friend?
I am doing well. Good to see you.
Good. Good to see you.
Yeah, well, you see, there's a whole lot of things going on in the timeline, but one of the things that we can talk about, as you saw what's going on here, Kimball.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
And I like the clip you showed there, because um, that's the power is in the people. I was in the service and I was in the Philippines, and when they got rid of Marcos, their revolution was called the People Power Revolution. So the power are with the people. You know, the power to spend or not to spend. Is in the people. So I was thinking when the Kimball thing came down, I was like, wow, like they just caving into one guy. And when Disney is really and truly like beholden to millions and millions of people, depending on millions and millions of consumers to make that thing go, and you caving in for one guy.
Right.
And the other thing is that, wow, man, how come these freedom things, you know, one side does something, says something, and if I protest, they say, oh, you're against freedom of speech. But when you say it the other way, they don't know if they're for freedom of speech or they're not. They're for it if the right people, they people saying something, but they're against it if somebody else is saying something, So, but I
And that,
applaud, like I say, and I wish people would realize, not just don't just do it for Jimmy Kimball, do it for yourselves. Do it
absolutely.
for your local, do it for your local businesses, your local community. Let them know that without you, they ain't nothing. That
Right.
there
And
ain't no business without a consumer.
well, here's the thing. You're absolutely right. And this is bigger than Jimmy.
Oh
This
yeah,
is really
much
about
bigger.
all of us. And you
Yes,
brought that up a little bit. It's about freedom of speech.
it's
We
about freedom
have
of speech.
to defend that First Amendment right. And
Yes.
it seems like it was just continuously being rolled back. People took action to this. I feel like as an artist, or I mean, just as a person overall in general, but particularly as an artist
Mhm.
who, the freedom of speech it means a lot. So how can a comedian not have freedom of speech?
Freedom
And
of
not
speech.
only that, who started some of the most obnoxious talk that we've ever heard from elected officials? The things that we hear from this administration, it's embarrassing.
Look, look. The president, from his first term, when he came down the escalator, talking about Mexicans are rapists and this, that, and the other, was offended. And I thought, man, what a classless guy. You don't expect those type things coming out of somebody who should be really and truly like at a certain level. You know what I mean? At a certain level. So I didn't like the things he said. He says a lot of stuff. A lot of people say a lot of stuff that I don't like. But I have to accept the fact that it was their right to say it, right? So, it
And
was
that's the
their
bottom
right to
line.
say it. That's the bottom line. I might not like it, but it was their right. You
Right.
know, I mean, wouldn't it be great that anytime somebody says something bad about you, you could silence them? You know what I mean? You could get, like, hey, anybody, somebody says something bad about you, man, what is that? That's something wrong with that picture right there.
It really is. And I just feel like this and I don't know where it fits in, but this whole council culture,
Yeah,
and it has to be convenient, like it has definitely become partisan. Like
yeah.
everything has become that way, and that's just not how we're living. Now, I was happy to see what happened with this. I'm also it's gonna be interesting to see and to hear how Kimball, go forward with the show.
So forth.
Now,
Yeah,
you know, he's out here. I can't say I don't necessarily watch it. I'm not gonna pretend that I watch it, but I'm
yeah,
aware of who he is.
yeah,
But in terms of media, in terms of, production, there's a whole team of people that it takes to make and produce a show. So the amount of families that are being fed behind this show, I feel like that for these people to just immediately lose their way of taking care of themselves, that's horrible.
yeah,
So I thought about
yeah,
that as
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, the truth be told, you don't know how everybody on his team or everybody who goes into that production process how they think.
right.
You don't know whether they for or against. You don't know. I mean, it's a lot of people, and I'm sure that they don't have to say I'm one way or I vote one way or the other to get this job. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
And it doesn't matter.
that's right. Doesn't matter. And I think how you talk about council culture. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the idea that people say woke is a bad word. Like if you're not woke, you sleep. Like they want you to be sleep. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that. They don't want you to be woke. They want you to be sleep. And you know what?
Listen, let's be honest, because I'm not even so sure that they want you to be asleep. They just do not want you to be against anything that is for their benefit or within their mindset, whatever it is that they are thinking. And that's the part that is the biggest problem. We cannot do this. We're not supposed to think alike. We don't have the same opinions about things. That's the whole idea. Even like what we're doing right here. I don't know what my guests are going to say. I don't know necessarily what frame of mind they might be in. And to be honest, I really do not care. This is
Right.
about having conversation. I mean, why are we going to have conversations with people who just continuously to agree with us? I mean, if that's
That's
the
right.
case,
That's
what's
right.
the point?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I
What
ain't
are you
into,
learning?
I'm like you. I'm not into yes people. I'm not, because everybody should have an opinion. And if your opinion is always the opinion of somebody else, that doesn't necessarily mean that that your opinion is wrong, but you got to be careful that it's your opinion.
Right.
You got to be careful that when somebody says something and you agree with it, you agree with it. Just not because that person said it, I agree with it. Because followers or following is a big thing. Following is a big thing. Can be a good thing and a bad thing. But at the
Absolutely.
same time, you don't want blind the blind leading the blind. You don't want to follow somebody they don't know where they're going, but you done wrap your belief into them, and now you in the ditch with them.
Absolutely.
So you got to make sure that you look inside yourself and you got your own personal thoughts. I always say you got to know what the issues are that affect you. I mean, like I can't see. I'll give you an example. And I always say this. It's like I remember people saying things about the border, right? Now, to be honest, I never cared about it. It never concerned me one way or the other. And to a great sense, my thing was always, from way back, I'm 65, probably for the last 50 years, trying to figure out, it's a shame that the best place that most of these people got to run to is this country. That was a eye-opening and a sad thought to me that, wow, the world is so bad that this is the best you can run to. So, that's just,
Well, hear me out. Hear me out. With everything that's going on right now, it might not look so good. And the streets aren't paved to gold. It's not all the milk and honey that people necessarily think. When you get here, you got to work. You got to. But the thing I like about it is that we have an opportunity to do more. You have an opportunity to, for lack of a better term right now, you had an opportunity to whatever that American dream was for you.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the border, let's be honest. There need to be some type of reform. There does. However,
yeah,
with dignity.
With
With
dignity.
dignity.
But I got a question for you.
Mhm.
Okay, well, then I give you this thought. I thought about it. I said, well, this happened recently. I was like, well, wow, where do we run? Like, where do we go? If we are at the best place and I just say that for that's we talking because if you were in certain parts of Europe, the people were going there, you know. But if we're in the best place you could be, and it's been jacked up for us all these years, where do
Mhm.
we go?
Well, here it is. You ask a very serious question.
Where do we go?
And really, what it all comes down to is where are you capable of going? You dig?
Mm,
Like, how together are you?
I get
If
you.
you got your stuff together, if you got your
That's right.
coin, if you are together, then you already know you have the opportunity to go
Yeah.
anywhere. And then when you have that opportunity to go anywhere and you've got that coin, well, I mean, life is going to be what it is for you. And
It's gonna be. That's
that
right.
goes back to a little bit of what I'm saying. Like, this is a country where you had an opportunity to do that. I don't know how many countries
Hmm.
you have the opportunity to even do that, you know? Because we all travel,
I get you.
you know, and when
Oh
I've
yeah. Yeah.
traveled, I go a lot of places, you know, you travel to these places and I not so much now, but it was, you know, people always kind of gravitated towards you. They knew you were
Hmm.
American, you know, a lot of locals
Hmm.
would want to have conversations with you, talk to you. A lot of, you know, you get people who feel like you really do live in the greatest country in the world.
Hmm.
And I've always been honest with people when I traveled. I'm like, hey, I live in America. Particularly when I see people in other countries who look like me, who I'm
Hmm.
like, hey, you can't believe everything that you see on TV.
That's right.
I said, we
That's
have
right.
to work hard over there. I said, yeah, I'm here on vacation and I can imagine what it looks like to you, but I work very hard. I had to save my money for this trip. I had to save
Yeah.
money for, you know, this ticket, for this stay. I said, you know, it's not easy for us over there, you know, in America. And so now, and this was like one of a trip that I took like right before the pandemic. I just remember this so vividly. This was a trip that I had taken to DR, and we were staying in Punta Cana, and you know, I'm on the beach and I'm talking to some locals, and that's the conversation we were having. I wanted to be
Hmm.
honest with people. Don't think that
Hmm.
because you see me over here that I'm some rich person on vacation. Every person you see come over on vacation from America, that's
Hmm.
not true. So
That's right.
I always tell the truth when I go out there. But as far as where we have to go, how well do you have your stuff together? And then you
I
book a
heard that,
flight.
and that's an excellent point. That is definitely an excellent point.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
one some of the things I want to see if I can pivot here. I want to share some stuff with you. I've been digging into. We've been working on trying to educate our folks, right? So
mhm.
I've got a lot of stuff on the big beautiful bill. But one of the things I wanted to share with people that do you know that there are what do we have? We have 124 roughly billionaires in America. They will get 24 billion in tax breaks. Okay? We have 124 million millionaires. They will get roughly 12 billion in tax breaks. And then the rest of us, that 300 and something million, will get $6 billion in tax breaks. Wrap your mind around that one.
It seems like we're taking care of the wealthy.
You know,
in
I
a in
mean,
a off
they literally get 3 times as much a tax break as a poor person. You know, that's crazy.
that makes absolutely no sense. We can't even make it make sense. And to me, I'm glad you brought that up because we see this, right? And for
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm like, how incredibly selfish do you have to be? Now, I also know that that's not going to appeal to anyone's feelings. And I know there's not a billionaire who's watching this independent podcast. But I will also say that people who are of a certain wealth to not pay more into the system makes no sense to me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
don't even I don't even know how we can reform that. But I know that there are people, we've got to elect some officials who understand that we cannot, because we're robbing working class and poor people. That's just the
Yeah.
bottom line.
Yeah, we got that Robin Hood thing back. We robbing from the poor and giving it to the rich. you, you know, I
Right.
mean, that's crazy. And I meant to. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. We
Um,
in real so many times
yeah,
that happens to me.
yeah. Let me put this thing on. And sometimes I wonder, because I'm and I mean, this might. I hope I don't offend anybody, but I ain't never had a desire to be rich. I don't want to have money problems. I don't want to be
Mhm,
worried about money. I don't be tripping over money. But I never
mhm.
had a desire to be rich. But my point to that, what I'm trying to make is, wow, how much is there never a point that you got enough money?
I was
Or
gonna
maybe
say that,
maybe I just
Anthony.
ain't had enough to understand that. I mean, is there never a point when you say, I mean, there's no billionaire out there that says, hey man, look, we got enough money.
We got
Give that money
enough.
to somebody who needs it. I don't need it. Give it to somebody who needs it.
And not only that, let's set up something, because to be a billionaire, first of all, why? Like, why is that necessary if
But
you're
why is that
not
necessary?
going to do other things? And there are things that a billionaire should be able to do community wise, really worldwide,
Yeah, worldwide.
in helping
Worldwide.
people, setting
Worldwide.
up things that doesn't even have anything to do with the government. You don't have to wait for the government to do things that are right and to do things for people. There's so many ideas, so many project ideas. There's so much need. And to be a billionaire, like that's incredible greed. Now, don't get me wrong. Because that's the part, like we were talking about earlier, that's the part that makes America great, is that you have that opportunity to
You have the
build.
opportunity.
That's the part about capitalism that you definitely can appreciate, that you have the opportunity for that. I don't want that to go away, but
No.
why are you not paying your fair share?
Shit. Yeah,
That's
why not?
ridiculous. I don't
Why not?
know. That
You
was
know?
that was a great pivot, because uh, do better.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, and we talk about those are the numbers, 120, 124 billionaires in this country. And I mean, and 124 million millionaires. I mean, there's plenty. So, I mean, they got all this money. But then, I thought about it one day and I thought, wow, it's crazy because here we are, um, you know, like we don't have money to do a lot of things. I was up in Charlotte, and this weekend, and I've been to some other place, DC, and I've been there, and I think about the homeless. I always look and see, and I say, wow, the homeless is there, and we got all this great. I don't know why they're out there, but I do know that there's enough resources here to try to really and truly address the problem. You know, I mean, I always say, look, it's like the lottery.
Mhm.
I would tell my friends, I would say, they never let me hit the lottery because I do the next day I'll sue this country, I sue the government, I sue the government because I did. I always say we talk about reparations time, but I'm not even worried. I think this country got a case for PTSD. That's a class by itself because there's a certain amount of trauma that's in here. When you get up, you move, or when you wake up, when you walk out the door, when you see the police, when you do this, that, and the other, your stress level is always. We're always under a certain amount of stress,
A certain amount of stress.
and it's just part of being surviving this country.
It's a part of
It's part of
surviving this
surviving this
country.
country. So I always say that I think every black person in this country has probably got just a little bit of PTSD. You know,
Absolutely, because
it's
listen,
like you in the war.
if you're driving and you see those blue lights in your rearview mirror,
Mm-hmm.
the stress levels, the way they raise, because it's not even about thinking, okay, what did I do wrong? Or will I get traffic violation? Is there something going on?
Yeah.
Whatever reason that you're being stopped. It's beyond that. You're
Yeah.
you're thinking through, okay, well, what's getting ready to
It's beyond
happen
that.
to
Yeah.
me? Right. Am I about to be
Yeah.
abused?
Yeah.
Am I gonna make it
Yeah.
home?
Yeah.
Will I be killed? So the stress levels of
Yeah.
just seeing
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
blue
Yeah.
lights
Yeah. Yeah.
in your rearview mirror, and we absolutely shouldn't be feeling that way. But we know that to be our truth. It has been and it is,
You shouldn't be feeling that.
for black and brown
That's our
people.
truth.
Now look at what's
Yeah.
happening
That's our
now.
truth.
We talked about it a little bit. Look at
Mm.
what's happening now with ICE and how an immigrant population is just
Mm-hmm.
being, so disrespectfully uh taken off the streets. No respect, no dignity.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way to do things, but that definitely is not the way to do it. So we're watching that. So they're dealing with extreme levels of stress. Young people or immigrant children might they have the opportunity to go home, and then their parents may not be there. So how we're seeing this done is definitely not something that I can support. Doing something, making sure that we have proper reform. That is why we elect officials, to make sure you go in there. You're supposed to have a level of intelligence as well as a level of compassion, I hope, for people. You're a
Yes.
public servant. Why did you choose to be a public servant if you're not going to serve the people? And if you do not care about people, I don't know. People got to vote
You know,
different, Anthony.
people have definitely got to vote different. I mean, people got to take their vote. Like I say, I moved here from Atlanta. I moved here probably about 18 years ago on this area, and one thing I think I learned. I remember one time in Atlanta when I wasn't voting, right, youngster, and I remember seeing this thing that said, "Vote the black slate," and I remember at the time thinking like, huh? Like, you read the names, you might know a name or two, but you don't know the other person, right? So, I thought, well, that might be kind of crazy, you know. And then as I moved, I mean, I went years without voting, but then I get here and I think, so often that we vote, we don't vote on our issues. We send people to office year after year after year after year. Your neighborhoods ain't improved. And there's no evidence that the person that you've been sending to office for all those years has ever done anything to your neighborhood.
Mhm,
I mean,
mhm.
it was run down 15 years ago, and it's run down now. I
D-
mean, they're zoned in a way where you don't have any. I mean, sometimes I think, and I'm not picking on nothing, but boy, like if a lot of times, you just got to go to the right school, and that's it. Because everybody knows you.
mhm.
But you got to, whether you know you or not, your classmates or not, you still got to hold them accountable. I want to
Absolutely.
say something else about this ICE thing. Everybody should be worried the fact that people are running around unmarked cars, no insignias, mask over their heads. And like I said this, years ago. You know, white supremacy has infiltrated every facet of American society, every law enforcement, courts, school system. It's everywhere. So if you just want to beat up on some immigrants, all you gotta do is get hired. Yeah, I heard a conversation one day. Somebody was saying on Urban View, and they were talking about how well the job paid. And again, see, it depends on what kind of person you are. See, I don't do anything for money. I got principles, and my principles ain't for sale. I don't care how good the job is, how well it pays, how well the benefits are. Man, I am not violating my beliefs. To go out here and go out here and uh, um abuse
Just
people just so my paycheck can look good. You know what I mean?
right. Well, I mean, obviously, it takes a
Yeah.
certain mindset to even
Mhm.
want to do that job based upon, what you see being done.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we also see the type of people who are out here doing it. We're talking
Mhm.
about just not so very long ago, if we could remember, people didn't want to wear masks. And some of those same people who
Mhm.
didn't want to wear masks for the security of people's health, some of those same people are masked up, grabbing people off the street in the most
Mm.
disrespectful, vile ways, just violating people's, personship in every possible way.
Mm. That's real
So
talk, myself.
you know what I'm saying? So you've got to look at that. And that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I've been paying attention to. Um, what are some other things that you see happening in the headline that you feel like needs a little talk about?
I'm gonna give you some. I'm gonna share some. Let me give you some. Where is this at? If I can find the right document. I
Okay.
got a document here talking about these benefits. What is that document? It's,
All
what's
right,
going to
everybody.
happen to healthcare? Okay, some of the healthcare impacts.
And see, that's
Impacts for.
that's the thing. A lot of people right now, people are complaining about certain things. Certain
Mhm.
things we see are happening, but I don't feel like a lot of people are really going to be out here and really fighting for themselves and fighting for their rights until it really hits them in a really harsh way. So I feel like what you're getting ready to talk about is one of those things. Like people aren't feeling it yet. And the
Yeah,
incredible thing about some of the policies is they strategically timed it within, to happens to start rolling out after the midterms and
after the
right,
midterm.
right.
After the
So
midterm.
people don't even know yet how, much they're going to be what's going to be taken from them.
Mm.
I'm gonna go ahead and let you go ahead
Okay.
and get into
All
what you
right.
want to talk about.
You're gonna have cuts to SNAP, Medicaid, and the American Affordable Care Act marketplace.
Mhm.
1.3 trillion. Medicaid impacts for the CBO estimate that 11 million will lose Medicaid.
Right.
Medicaid expansion in states require additional paperwork. 5 million lose Affordable Care Act coverage. Medicare impacts Part B no longer paid by Medicaid. 40 million people, including children, lose food access through SNAP. The limits provide taxes which increase Medicaid payments to hospital, nursing home, and other private managed care. Provide 300 rural hospitals could either close or face um, loss of services. Uh, Medicaid enrollees would pay $35 to see a doctor. Currently, is free. You know, higher costs for emergency care room treatment.
Mhm.
Some immigrants will lose their Affordable Care Act, and includes those lawfully present, asylum seeker, refugees, victims of trafficking. So it's just a bunch of things that, like you say, and they trying to be slick about it. They want to uh, wait till after the midterms. Um, wait till after the midterms
For
and
for it to roll out.
and
And and
roll out.
and and they're not even trying to be slick about it. Absolutely.
And and,
But
and
it
the truth
but
about
here's
it
the thing
is
too. Go ahead.
if you haven't seen enough, yeah, if you haven't seen enough, now. I mean, to me, like your mind ought to be somewhat made up about where you going because I can't see this thing turning around. I don't see these people. I don't see these people waking up one day and having a come to Jesus moment. You know what I mean?
Well,
you
well,
know, I just think
today was supposed to be the come to the Jesus moment. Today was
yeah,
supposed to be the rapture for those who subscribe to that belief. But you're right, man. But this is affecting a whole lot of people. You got to think about more than just the people losing their benefits because that's what's going to happen is that's going to trickle down to hospitals being closed,
yeah, yeah,
nurses and doctors who are going to have to move out of certain areas. So you're talking
yeah,
about communities of people who will not have access to health care, who will not have access to emergency hospital care. Because if you live in a rural area and you've got some, a small hospital there, but the next city to you, or what would be considered a major city, is anywhere from 30 to 60 miles away, your emergency is way bigger than anybody could imagine at this point, because
That's
you're
right. That's
not going to
right.
be able to get the medical attention that you need,
That's
you
right.
know?
That's right. So they got, they throwing some bones out there. They're gonna have some few things that are gonna trickle down as far as child care might go, and if you
Mhm.
want to get a new car, they're gonna give you a little tax break on that right there if you can afford to get you a new car.
Get a
Um,
car to go
you
where?
know, go. See what I'm saying? They and like I say, they are throwing things out there that average people can't even consider thinking about. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Okay,
Um,
minimum
you know,
wage is what?
575, still five, seven,
Seven
seven
is
twenty-five
seven
of
725. So you're talking about minimum wages, and you want to give people a tax break on cars? Give people a
them.
tax break, period. That's what
Yeah,
needs to be done for working class and poor people. Give them a break, period. Because
and a living wage
thank you. I am so tired of hearing affordable housing, and I want to know affordable to whom?
to whom?
What does that mean? If we don't
To
have
whom?
jobs that provide affordable
Mm,
cost of living, how are we going
mm,
to have affordable housing? It doesn't make
mm.
sense. So, we've got people who they're playing with words. Let's just be honest. We got people out here who are
Yeah,
playing with words,
yeah.
as we see words being taken and flipped and turned to mean one thing, playing with words. That's what it
The
is.
same word.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I see we got
That is
Thurman
that.
in here. He says, hello, I'm a little late, but how you doing? You're not late, you're right on time for the
Right on
conversation we
time.
in here. All right. I see Jeremy in here. He says, hello, how you doing, Mr. Plowden? Good to have you in here with us. But man, playing with words,
Playing words. Yeah,
playing with
making
them,
people's
and also
lives.
right, but also trying to snatch words out of people's mouth, snatch
Mm-hmm,
words out of your mouth, or either put a muzzle on you.
mm-hmm,
You can't say this about this person. He could say anything he want to say about you, anything,
mm-hmm.
but you better
Yeah,
not hurt the fragile feelings of these
yeah,
people in
yeah,
this administration. Some of the things
yeah,
that I
yeah,
see them say, I just don't believe that they say.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and not only that, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but when I see them tweeting out posts and tweeting out things that, degrade people, basically being keyboard bullies,
Yeah, yeah,
how
yeah, yeah, yeah,
what
yeah,
is
yeah,
that?
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
That's
I
that's
really
what it
feel
is.
like we're a laughing stock around the world right now.
Of
People are
course we are.
looking people are looking
Of,
at America and just looking at us as a laughing stock right now.
of course we are. Of course we are. It's like we were laughing stock in 2016, and then you double down and did it again, like didn't learn anything. I
Nothing.
mean,
Nothing.
look, look. I wake up some mornings, even to this day, like until this, even till now, even though it's a reality, and even though this is the second time around, I wake up some morning, shake my head, and say, "Nah, nah, no way, no
Man.
way." We didn't fall, and we didn't fall that far. Sometimes, and I wonder, like, and I think, like, whatever America was, whatever it strived to be, that I feel like, man, we done damaged ourselves, and it's hard for me to see a way to, I mean, it's hard for me to see a way back.
There isn't gonna be
You
a
know,
way back.
yeah, I mean,
We're
like, it's like one of them movies, America has fallen, and I just can't see. I just don't see how. I
there's
don't
gonna
know
there's
what.
gonna there's gonna have to be a rebuild. There's
Yeah.
gonna have
Oh
to be
yeah.
a rebuild.
Yeah. Yeah.
But way back, and then back to what? Because to be honest, how great were things?
I,
We
I,
were living, we
never
were
to me.
surviving.
Yeah, you're never to me. You're never to me.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm just gonna speak out, and I think I turned 65 last month, and I'm like, um, it's worse. It's worse now.
It
I
is.
mean, it didn't get better, and and that really ticks me off. That they had the nerve to get worse.
But
You
let me
know,
ask you this question then. You say it had the nerve to get worse. How many people, and particularly young people, do you think really realize what we are in the thick of right now?
I don't know, and it's scary because like, and then I know me and you both have probably been beating our heads, and and we searching for some of them answers because I try, but I don't know. I mean, because I don't know. I guess I think I've always had some sort of a conscience about life. I've always been aware. But I've always been able to look at life not just about me, but about us, right? You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So I've always had a conscience. Like, it's like to hear somebody say voting doesn't matter today. It's like, like, what are you talking about? Where you been, man? Where you at? What part of this redistricting, redlining, all this redistricting, redrawing the maps and all this stuff? What part of that stuff you don't get? I mean, what is it about voter suppression laws? What is it that you don't understand?
You
Right?
listen, I see we got common ground in here, and common ground says they don't care. Not all, but the majority does not care. He also says that there's a narrative warfare and it is manipulation of stories. Checkmate. Time will tell it all. And there is a narrative story, but I want to go back just a little bit to his statement where he says not all don't care. And that's really what you're saying. And you can't make people care. You
You
can't
can't.
make people care.
Yeah, you can't.
Obviously, you can't.
Yeah.
We see people who vote against their own
Own
best
interest.
interests. You know,
Own interest. Own
they
interest.
vote against their own best interests because
Yeah.
the thing that they tend to care about to us seems to be less significant because there's
Yeah.
no reason that we should be caring about a particular race,
Yeah.
a particular skin. We need to be thinking about blood, not skin. Like
Yeah.
we're
Or
all
or
human.
or 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 protecting the right for billionaires to pay less or not pay their fair share. I mean, that don't even make sense.
That
You
makes
know,
no sense at all
that
because
makes
when you
none.
you you talk about that 1% of billionaires do not have the voting power to make, these laws and these policies, to come about. So it is really a majority of people who you don't share that money with them,
Yeah,
but you're
yeah.
voting to
You
protect them.
voted
So
for them. Yeah. It
you're
ain't getting
voting
nothing out
for
to
them.
deal. Nothing out to
Nothing.
deal. You know,
Nothing.
and it's a shame because really and truly, and I say this, and it nothing really changes. I always say this, and I don't want to use this as on a racial uh, 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 context more say, but I really feel that there are about 60 million poor whites in this country. You
Mhm.
know, uh, they're but just percentage wise, they're probably more of them because there are more of them, right?
Right. They are
But
the majority.
that's right. But until that group feels what they voting for, which they don't feel it. They will feel it until they
Mhm.
feel it and understand that we ain't. You keep voting against your own interest because you think you're trying to do something that's hurting people that don't look like you. And at the end
Racial.
of the day,
Racial.
you just hurting you. Yeah, you're hurting yourself. You
Right.
know, it's as you say, it's the majority of us who need to come together, black, white, whatever it is, and make this thing work for us.
Right. Right. I see common ground here. I appreciate you joining the conversation because that's what makes this show work. It is about all of us getting in here so the chat stays live. He says you have to be aware to care.
Oh
What
yeah,
you are not aware of, you cannot care about. And there's a lot of that too. So let's
that's
let's
true.
talk a little bit about that. So you think about we're talking about okay, minimum wage 7.25. Okay. People, you know, there's not necessarily affordable housing. Even with these young
Mhm,
people who are out here who might be out, here living, I guess you could kind of say, kind of trying to
mhm,
live the American dream. They've got jobs, their
mhm,
jobs is paying them well, but their cost of living is so high, it's like they can't feel it, you know?
mhm.
So what does that really mean? What does that really mean? And who does that mean it for? So you can't care because you're trying to make it out here.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? People are out here trying to make sure that they pay their rent, they pay these bills. People are trying to decide, am I going to put how many dollars worth of gas or how much food I'm going to get? Because the
mm,
grocery prices that were supposed to come down on day one, they haven't gone down. They continue to
mm,
go up. So people don't have time to think about this news.
mm, mm.
Yeah, we might be on here. Yeah, we might go through the headlines because we want to stay aware. We feel like it's our obligation to kind of be aware of what's going on because how can
Right.
you be helpful if you're unaware? But the next person
Mhm.
out here who's just trying to live, they're not watching the news.
You're not watching
They're
the
not out.
news.
They're not out here at political rallies. They're not doing that. When we talking about boots on the ground, I said this, and
Mm.
I don't say this to hurt anybody's feelings, but we talking about two different boots on the ground. We got a
Yeah, yeah.
population of people who out here popping fans. That's their boots on the ground. They're boots on the ground. They're not out here trying to get people
That's right. Yeah,
registered to vote or getting
yeah,
people inspired and
yeah,
motivated to make
yeah,
sure that we
yeah,
can make some
yeah,
differences and make some changes.
yeah.
They can't. And guess what? I'm not mad at them either because there's no way. It's only been what, 8, 9 months, right? How will we be able to live in this incredible amount of stress? You gotta have some relief. You gotta turn off
You
this
got,
thing.
you got.
You know what I'm
And
saying? So they're not
yeah, oh
wrong.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah. But like I say, and the thing about it is that you have to um you gotta eventually. I would say this is that I know it's hard. It's hard for you individually, and it's hard. But you've got to find a way to get in the game. You
Mhm.
gotta find a way. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes life is better. I spend a lot of days worrying about other people's stuff. Sometimes I don't have time to focus. I don't have time to focus on mine. I don't spend all my days thinking about my problems, because sometimes when you look at people and you realize that, people out there got it harder than you,
Right.
a lot of times I think what happens sometimes is that I don't want to say this like, we worried so much about we stressing out over the image. A lot of young folks, like you want to have the perception that everything is good. Like you spend a whole lot of time having an image, right? I mean, sometimes you so constant, you so worried about having an image and that makes it look like everything is all right, that that you don't take time to realize that it ain't, and it's okay, and you ain't the only one that it ain't all right, boy, and everybody else is going through, you know. But if it ain't working for you by yourself, then hey, why not try the collective?
Mhm.
Why not try the collective?
I
One of the
think it's
things
gonna
I think
happen.
about, it's got to,
It's
and I think
right.
they're gonna force us. They're gonna force us to, and I say this, one of my things is hopefully they'll push us into a place where we got to start looking at each other differently. We got to start relying on each other differently. I'm so sick of hearing these numbers about black collective wealth. You know, we spend all these billions of dollars, and if we was to pool our money together, we'd be the 9th largest country in the world, right? But what we do is every time we get $1, we give it back to them.
Listen, you know what? I'm getting ready to play a video that I think is going to be very important, and that'll take us right back into the conversation that we want to have. We're going to get right into, guys, we're going to get into some of these internet streets. That's what we need to do.
That's right.
Here we go.
Bree Romy, entrepreneur.
Created a hair clip that has unique styles and shapes, stars, bows, really, really nice. And it connects with 2 magnets, and then it has teeth that can go through braids or locks and hold it together. She does this. She's starting to sell her product. And then there's another woman, Kristen Owen, that is selling the same product. She's white, and she's selling, I guess, a knockoff version of what Bree's hair clip is.
Give them the kicker.
So Bree recognizes the fact that her shop is copying her style, and she makes a comment in a conversation to, I guess, Kristen Owen about using her product. And then another influencer, Keandra, publicly came out and defended her as well. So what happened was this girl, she filed a lawsuit against Bree,
the innovator,
and the activist, Keandra, that defended her, and a judge actually sided with her as a federal judge.
With the copier.
And issued a gag order. And it said within 6 days, a federal judge issued a gag order preventing Bree and Keandra from publicly discussing the case. And a UCLA law professor flagged it as constitutionally shaky. So imagine somebody steals your product, you question them about it, and then they sue you, and a judge sides with you and says they can't talk about it. This fits into the historical pattern described as weaponizing victimhood and the legal system against Black women who speak up. And this is my problem with Black media. This is a huge story. There's a young Black woman that has innovated and built something, and I do not see it on the Breakfast Club. I do not see it on the Shade Room. I do not see it on the Root and the Griot. And I understand that there's a lot going on, but we have to have our ears to the ground and to our community, that when these things happen, we come to the defense of our own. Because right now, really, TikTok is really the community that's standing up for her and her product. I know that she filed a patent on the product itself. But again, we have to amplify these stories, because this is just a systematic pattern of things that Black people create. Our ideas get stolen. Somebody else takes it, makes a bunch of money off of it, and we don't really have a chance to do anything about it.
You hear that?
Yeah. That's
So there's a couple, there's a couple things that we can unpack with this. So you're talking about a Black woman came out with a product. Then we have a white woman who came out and copied her product. She addressed it. And now we have the white woman who decided to do to have a case against her. And now the victim is the one who is the bad guy all of a sudden. And then to the larger point, we're talking about, well, is this a story that people are talking about? Is this a story that Black media has even picked up? And so that takes me into, like, we can talk about that, but that takes me into, where is Black media? Who are we going to for that particular media? So let's talk about that. Who are some of the where are some of the places that you go for your news? Can you hear me?
Well, yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of different sources, man. Say I do Al Jazeera. I do. I was a big MSNBC fan. I get some things off of the internet, and then some days I tell you what that and I go to Roland Martin. I guess some YouTube stuff, and some days I tell you, I used to be watching the news really and truly was like an everyday ritual to me, but somewhere along the way. And I struggle with this, and I struggle with this because I tell you what, I always say I don't think I learned the word hate until I was about 27 years old, and I was in the military. I don't think I'd ever used that word before in my life, and because it's a foreign emotion to who I am, because I'm a laughing guy. I like to have joke and have fun and smile and be happy all the time. You know what I'm saying? So some days I have to get away from it because I find that word creeping back into my vocabulary. That emotion sometimes,
Well, I
creeping
mean,
into my
I get it.
vocabulary. And so and a lot of times the news, I'll give you, now can you trust it? Always,
There you go. You've
you
got
know,
to do some of
I
your
think
own research.
you got to do your own research. So what it is like you say, when you hear something, once you hear it, some news work, then you start researching. Then you start Googling it, you start trying to find out what you do. Hey, look, you got chat, you got AI, you can find information.
You can
Now,
find
you get the
information,
pros and
but here's
cons.
the thing. Here's the thing, Anthony. You're right, but you've got to find credible sources. Now,
Incredible. Yeah.
the
Now look at
yes,
Urban View.
credible sources, and like I said, and
Yeah.
what the gentleman brought up, and what's his name again? Last name is Isaac K's son. I can't remember what is he Isaac K's third? I can't remember if he is or not. But anyway, I know that he was talking about he's not hearing it in Black media. He said, I haven't heard this story on the Breakfast Club. The fact that we have to use the Breakfast Club as a credible
Yeah.
source of media. I mean, we do in a large way. They've grown in a large way, but you also mentioned Roland Martin. And that's certainly one that I go to. If I had to
Roland Martin?
give people, yes, Roland Martin, very, very credible. He is credible. And that's a media source that I feel now more than ever, people should be supporting, because what do you call it? The mainstream media, it has been broken up so much that, we've had a side that have called it fake news so much, and they've had these suits out and they're suing, the TV stations. The FCC is trying to, they're doing so many crazy things right now until the legacy media, it's almost non-existent. People don't even respect it that much. So I want to say, okay, well, yeah, where can you go? Roland Martin, someone that I consider a credible source. Joy Ann Reid, she's into independent media right
Joy
now.
Reid, yeah.
So do the Joy Reid show. Don Lemon
yeah,
has his own show now, podcasting, independent media. So now we're seeing these legacy news anchors do a lot of what we're doing here right now that we've been doing for a while, but now they realize that this is a viable way of getting out information to and around your people. You've got to know where to go. Those are some places that people are wondering.
And on that note, so why is it that with all this black wealth, we don't really have stronger black media? There used to be a channel that was the black. Remember that they had the Black News channel, and the Black News channel stayed on for a hot second. Bam.
Okay, so here we go. Geisha has a little comment that we can kind of go into that. She says, some people are talking race, which is old facts that never really changed, but now it's the social economic crisis as well. So basically how I can take that as, listen, it's the same thing that we were talking about with the billionaires. Okay, why aren't they doing what they should do for the larger population of the people? So if you're talking about our black wealth and our percentage of black people there, same concept. So to be honest, this thing is beyond race. Right. This is the caste. We got to talk about the caste system. We got to talk about what's going on in the social economic backgrounds of people. People seems like the more money they have, the less they care. Not all, and we're not talking all, but it certainly looks that way, because if we look around us, we don't see, and we can't tell people how to spend their money. You go out here and work, People can't tell you how you got to spend your money, right? So I'm not saying we have to tell these people how to spend their money, but they sure do have enough to do some things that would be a little bit better, just in my opinion. You know, I don't know,
You know,
man.
you know, and that and I know we talk about us people too. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, you know, like when we arrive, like and we just forget. Sometimes we forget where we are. Sometimes I seem like we just so happy to be above the other black folks, right? That's it. We just happen to be above them. You know, I'll give you something. You know, and I'm funny. I heard a guy on, and I'm one of them people. You know, I like sports, and I think a lot of times I say, you know, sometimes I be saying, "Wow, man, a guy gets $50 million a year to do what? To cure cancer? To cure homelessness? No, to entertain, right? To bounce a ball, throw a ball, kick a ball, right?" So I heard the guy talk about his contract that he was going to sit out because somebody else made more money than him. Now he thinks he ought to make more money, but he says he needed a raise so he could feed his family, and that's insulting to me. Man, you making $20 million a year, and you're going to tell me that you can't feed your family on that? I saw a guy the other night playing in a football game with a diamond necklace on that could choke a horse, right? And I'm like, why do you have that on in a football game, right? Because what we do is we get this money and we say, look at me, I'm better than you. I can sit in the room with the white folks.
Woo.
Or whatever.
Listen, that's
hey,
what do you say?
You know,
it's crazy. It's crazy. But again, we live in a country.
That's right. You do what you want to do with the money. Yeah.
Yes.
That just looked crazy to me. I'm like, why are you out there playing football with a diamond necklace on? I mean, he had to be about that big.
Right.
I'm thinking, why? And then he went to do and seems the guy goes to he went to see some kids, you know, that had some disabilities, and he, you know, he was there, he was disability on, he was draped in all this gold. I'm thinking, man, I mean, these people parents probably just struggling, you know, to their life and savings invested trying to take care of their kids, and here you are, and then you got the nerve to say tomorrow's not promised to them. And I'm thinking, fool, it ain't promised to you either. You know? And I'm thinking, this is us. This ain't them. This is us.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I'm like, man, I don't know. You know? Hey.
Oh my goodness! Listen, I don't know how it happened, but it seems like we have made it through the lunch hour. We really have. I do want to share a couple announcements with people. So let me make these announcements to everyone right here, right now. Speaking of community, it is important for you to get out here and be a part of community. On Saturday, okay, September 27th, from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. at Trinity Baptist Church, there will be a Young Man Summit. Okay, a Young Man Summit at Trinity Baptist Church on Saturday, September 27th from 12 to 2 p.m. And it is an event to help build brotherhood, where you're going to have real conversations, have real discussions, real talk, and also discuss the scripture. All young men are invited out. And of course, if it is a summit for young men, we're going to have to ask that the older men are out there as well, because they're going to need the mentorship as well, as that's going to be a part of the conversation. So make sure that you guys go out to that on this Saturday. I also want to bring to your attention that the Florence Christmas Parade is going to be on Saturday, December 13th. The Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce is excited to host a 2025 Christmas Parade. The parade is scheduled for Saturday, December 13th, at 11 a.m. The parade will begin near the intersection of Sunset Drive and Evans Street, and will continue down Evans towards Dargan Street. There will be band performances, and they will be judged in front of the Florence City Center. Now, listen, I think you guys should really make sure that you find out more about this. If you and your organization is interested in participating in this event, please fill out the application packet and send it to the chamber with your fee. You can find the application and more information on their website at www.flowchamber.com. That is www.flowchamber.com. There will be cash prizes awarded for the best participation entries as well as best bands. So Santa's secret judges will be out there determining who the winners are based on a predetermined evaluation criteria, but the prizes are big. First prize is $1,000, second prize $500, third prize $250. So you guys make sure that you find out and be a part of that parade. If you've got a dance group, if you've got a band, please make sure that you're interested. All of the businesses who are ready to participate and be a part of the city's parade, make sure, again, you go to flowchamber.com and get the information. Anthony, that's all I got for this lunch hour.
All right.
That's all I got. Anything else you want to leave
plug
with the
one
people?
thing. Look,
Go
I
ahead.
put together a civics workshop package, and it's basically called Train the Trainer. It's talking about the government, and how it's set up and various things. But if you want to know more, if you want to know about the voting, the government, how it's structured from the federal to the local, you want to know more about the big beautiful bill, how it affects South Carolina. As I always say, got a car, we'll travel. 843-229-1274. You can call me. You can come to me. I'll come to you. Let's learn what we can. Let's educate ourselves. Let's get ready.
Right.
And part of the solutions to get through this, look, we ain't gonna dumb our way through this thing. We got to be educated. We've got to be knowledgeable about what's going on, and we got to get that knowledge in us so much that we're able to share it with other people. Our sororities, frats, cliques, clubs, church members, whoever. But like I said, got a car, we'll travel.
All right. Well, I mean, we talked through some headlines, and we just kind of, got involved in our conversation. So we didn't get into the Civics 101, but I know we can have a conversation again, and you can we'll dive right on into it. It's always good to talk to you. It's always good to know people who are out here striving to help communities, striving to make sure people know that their voices matter, just like conversations do. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate it. Hey, look here. And I don't want to be on the back nine. I want to be on the front line. And if you understand what I'm talking about,
sir,
you'll get it. You want to get on the front line. Now you stick with this young lady here. She can point you in the right direction, right? MsTonya, thank you. Just keep doing what you're doing. I tell you what, I always knew. Hey, meeting you is one of those good things that happen in your life when you run across good people. And like I say, hey, we in it. We in it, and we gonna impact them if we got to drag them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know that to be true. All right, Anthony. All right, everybody. I got to thank you guys for joining us today, everybody who had an opportunity to get in here. Okay, so that was the episode that we had. Next time, Anthony and I, we're going to get a little bit more into some of that Civics 101 because that's very important. All right. So I'll be back the next time. We'll be back to talk. I want y'all to stay connected. I want you to make sure that you subscribe. I want you to tell a friend. So until the next time, y'all do what y'all got to do to be safe out here. Care about more than yourself, but certainly care about yourself. All right. That's what it is. That's what it will be. That's what it should.